Your nervous system may not be craving rest right now. It may be craving relief from constantly feeling emotionally on, always anticipating, always preparing, always carrying invisible tension through even ordinary moments. And lately, your body may be getting tired of living that way. Not weak, just exhausted from staying emotionally alert for too long. You may notice today that your mind feels tired in a very specific way. Not physically exhausted, emotionally overstimulated. Like your system has spent too much time trying to stay prepared for what might go wrong next. And after a while, that kind of internal pressure starts becoming automatic. The body stays tense. The thoughts stay active. The nervous system forgets how to fully settle. That's why this recent Taurus energy may feel strangely unfamiliar, because it's encouraging slowness, stillness, grounding, not as avoidance, as recalibration. A reminder that your inner world was never meant to function inside constant emotional overdrive forever. The Taurus New Moon was never really about moving faster. It was about noticing how disconnected your nervous system has become from peace itself. Because when someone lives in survival mode for long enough, calmness can start feeling unfamiliar, almost suspicious. Like part of the body is waiting for the next emotional disruption to interrupt it. That's why you may notice lately that your relationship with noise is changing. Certain environments feel heavier now. Certain conversations drain you faster. Certain emotional dynamics feel impossible to ignore anymore. Your nervous system is becoming more honest. Not dramatic, honest. And that honesty is slowly changing what your inner world is willing to tolerate moving forward. Sometimes emotional exhaustion doesn't look dramatic externally. Sometimes it looks like always feeling mentally on, always scanning, always anticipating, always carrying emotional tension, even during moments that are supposed to feel safe. And eventually, the body adapts to that pressure. Not because it's healthy, because survival patterns become familiar over time. That's why some people don't realize how overwhelmed they are until their nervous system starts reacting to everything. Shorter patience, heavier fatigue, less emotional capacity for chaos that once felt manageable. And maybe, lately, your inner world has been trying to tell you something simple. This pace is no longer sustainable. You may even notice now that your body reacts before your mind fully understands why. A conversation changes tone, and your chest tightens instantly. Someone's energy shifts, and your nervous system feels it immediately. An environment becomes emotionally tense, and suddenly your body feels exhausted without knowing how to explain it. That awareness matters, because the nervous system often recognizes emotional danger long before the conscious mind catches up. And under Pluto retrograde, those deeper emotional patterns become harder to ignore. especially the ones that taught you to stay emotionally prepared at all times. Prepared for disappointment, prepared for conflict, prepared to protect yourself emotionally before life even asks you to. But eventually, living in constant internal defense starts disconnecting you from peace itself. But healing does not mean becoming afraid of every difficult emotion. That's important to remember now. Not all discomfort is emotional danger. Some moments simply ask you to stay present instead of immediately protecting yourself from feeling anything at all. The difference is becoming clearer lately. Your nervous system is beginning to recognize the difference between temporary discomfort and environments that continuously pull you out of yourself emotionally. Those are not the same thing. And part of emotional maturity is learning when to gently stay open and when your inner world is honestly asking for distance. That awareness is not weakness. It's self-respect becoming more conscious. And maybe part of your exhaustion comes from how tightly you've been holding yourself together internally. Always carrying responsibility, always staying emotionally prepared, always trying to prevent future pain before it even arrives. That kind of tension builds quietly over time until the nervous system forgets what it feels like to simply unclench. But lately, something softer may be happening. You may feel less interested in forcing everything, less emotionally attached to constantly staying in control, less willing to sacrifice your peace just to maintain old emotional survival patterns. That shift matters deeply because healing sometimes begins the moment the body realizes, I don't need to grip life this tightly anymore. You may be realizing now that peace is not something you find accidentally. It's something your nervous system slowly learns how to trust again through healthier rhythms, healthier boundaries, healthier emotional environments, not through perfection, through consistency. And under this Taurus energy, that slower rebuilding process matters deeply because your future cannot sustainably grow from constant emotional depletion, not long term. That's why your priorities may be changing quietly now. You crave more honesty, more grounding, more emotional clarity. Not because you've become less ambitious, because your inner world is becoming less willing to abandon itself just to keep up with emotional chaos. There may be quieter moments lately where your mind finally stops trying to race ahead for a few seconds. A slower walk, a quiet room at night, rain against the window, an empty road during sunset. And for a moment, your nervous system softens without needing a reason. Those moments matter because healing does not always arrive through breakthroughs. Sometimes it arrives through stillness, finally feeling safe enough to stay. And maybe lately, your body has been searching for more of those moments naturally. Not to escape life, to reconnect with yourself without emotional noise constantly surrounding you. The body remembers what constant emotional pressure feels like. The tension in the shoulders, the racing thoughts before sleep, the quiet exhaustion of always staying emotionally alert. But the body also remembers what relief feels like. A deeper breath, a calmer room, a moment where your chest loosens without effort. That's why this phase is asking you to pay attention to what your nervous system responds to now. Not every environment supports your peace. Not every pace supports your well-being. And maybe healing is becoming less about forcing yourself forward and more about building a life your body no longer feels trapped inside. You may notice today that your body has been asking for simpler things lately. More rest, more quiet, more time away from emotional overstimulation. That isn't laziness. That's recalibration. Because the nervous system cannot heal properly while constantly absorbing stress without recovery. And maybe part of your growth now is finally respecting what your body has been trying to communicate for a long time. That slower rhythms are not failure. That rest is not falling behind. That peace is not something you need to earn through exhaustion first. Sometimes healing begins when you stop fighting your own need for grounding. What's shifting right now may not look dramatic externally, but internally, your relationship with yourself is beginning to change. You're becoming more aware of what drains your energy, more honest about what your nervous system can no longer normalize, and more protective of the peace you've slowly started rebuilding within yourself. That matters, because healing often begins quietly. A calmer response, a healthier boundary, a moment where you pause instead of emotionally overreacting automatically. Those smaller moments reshape people over time, especially under this Taurus energy, because Taurus teaches growth differently, not through emotional extremes, through steadiness, through grounding, through slowly building a life that feels safer to exist inside emotionally. So maybe today, you do not need to solve your entire future emotionally. Maybe your nervous system does not need more pressure right now. Maybe what your inner world has truly been asking for is space to breathe again, space to slow down, space to feel grounded, space to exist without constantly carrying emotional urgency. Because not every moment requires preparation for something painful, and not every pause means something is about to go wrong. Sometimes, peace begins when your body finally realizes it no longer needs to stay emotionally guarded every second of the day. And maybe that softer way of living is exactly where this next chapter is trying to guide you now. And if you're still here listening, maybe your nervous system needed this reminder more than you realized. A reminder that healing does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it simply looks like learning how to breathe easier again. So thank you for slowing down here for a little while, for giving yourself space to reconnect with your inner world more honestly. And tonight, you do not need to carry everything at once. Let your shoulders soften a little. Let your mind rest a little. let yourself exist without emotional overdrive for a few moments longer. More clarity will come. More grounding will come. For now, just let yourself stay here, inside this quieter rhythm a while longer.